Terrible 22.
Hello and welcome to, what is this, week 3 of the Ohio State football
Week 3.
season? And our Bucknuts Instant Reactions from the press conference following Ryan Day, Jim Knowles. Dave, you wrote the story that's already up on Bucknuts. Probably the biggest news of the day. I think we all kind of saw it coming, though. Ryan Day officially names Kyle McCord the starting quarterback. I wrote Saturday after the game, like, it was time. I think you talked about it on the post-game podcast. Just your thoughts. Not a ton of surprise here, but what Ryan said and why you think they did this now.
Yeah, I'm glad they made this decision. And I like what Coach Day said. It gives Kyle peace of mind. He talked about that a little bit and how he's earned the job. And he also said he thinks it's good for the team. You know, just they know who their quarterback one is now. It's not this guy's going to start the game. This guy's going to play a lot, though. It's like Kyle's our guy, you know. And he said Devin's still going to be in the mix, but you know, Kyle is their guy. And I think I agree with you, Patrick. It just felt like the perfect time, and it was the perfect time. I didn't think they wanted to go into the Notre Dame game, not, you know, with that being the first game where they know for sure who QB1 is. So it gives Kyle one game to kind of, know he's the guy before Notre Dame. I agree. Today felt like the right time to do it, and then Coach Day did it.
Steve, I don't know how much this actually changes. Coach Day said Kyle will get more of the first team reps in practice, but he's kind of been QB1, right? I mean, based on what he's done on game day, he's played most of the snaps. He's been the guy that's been out there when it matters, so to speak. So how much do you think this does actually affect things for this team?
I think it comes at the right time. I think that it is the right move to make. I think that obviously he played pretty well in the game against Youngstown State. I think he threw for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. Pretty good percentage, like 12-17. So he did everything that you wanted him to do going into that game to show that he should be the starter. And I think now it just kind of streamlines the process and says, we're not going to move him in and out every other series. We're not going to do this. We're going to give this guy 80% of the reps with the first team, whatever the exact number is. And we're going to prepare for these next 2 games like we would, if JT Barrett or Justin Fields or CJ Stroud was the starting quarterback. This guy is going to get the full prep to be ready to go and go win these 2 games. Western Kentucky, which in many ways is the warm-up for Notre Dame. I mean, Western Kentucky's going to come in, throw the ball all over the field, just like Notre Dame's going to. And so it's almost a perfect setup for Ohio State to get ready to go play Notre Dame and just, let the chips fall where they may on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's watched, especially this past Saturday, saw Kyle look the better of the two. Maybe if Devin is getting starts and more time with that first team, maybe he does end up looking better. I thought that his athleticism, which was kind of the differentiation between the two, didn't stand out a ton. Yeah, they call more quarterback runs, but he's not electrically fast. He's not overly quick and shifty. So I don't know if it changes too much right now with the two of them, but I agree with both of you. I think this is the right decision at the right time. Obviously, going into the Notre Dame game, it'll be important for Kyle to play well. And I think that will be the real test, right? Can he go through that game and not only get the Buckeyes the win, but look like what we expect from an Ohio State quarterback? So we won't know that until a couple weeks from now, but I think this makes a lot of sense. Offensive line. We've talked about it quite a bit. Ryan Day continues to say positive things publicly about it. I know you said last week, Dave, that you agreed with him, that you thought things were fixable. Where do you stand now, a week later, having another game of film that you got to watch?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely played better against Youngstown State, but that's going to be the weakest defense they face all season. So yeah, they played better. I thought, Donovan Jackson really struggled against Indiana. That was disappointing because I thought he was their best offensive lineman coming into the year. Maybe he still will be. Right now, Josh Fryer's playing like their best offensive lineman. I think Carson Hinsman's been solid, especially considering the fact he's a redshirt freshman, playing the quarterback of the offensive line at center. Josh Simmons is getting a lot of heat. I don't see him getting pushed around. It's not a physical thing with him. There's been some miscommunication issues. So I'm still concerned about the offensive line, but again, I do agree that these issues are fixable because I'm not seeing guys just getting manhandled. I'm seeing some communication issues, and really just the Indiana game is what I'm talking about. So we've seen Ohio State offensive lines in the past start off real slow and just keep getting better. We'll see if Justin Fry can do that this year with this group.
To me, when I watched the game back on TV, it was clear that pass blocking seems to be solid. Kyle McCord had a lot of time to throw. Devin Brown got out of the pocket, but some of that was on his own doing. The running is where the push is not happening for me yet. And that's where I have my concerns about it.
we had a note in the boarding house yesterday, I think that kind of crystallized my thoughts, is that it gets to be 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and Coach addressed this today. They're not getting the push up front to convert those 3rd and short situations with the run. And so consequently, they're calling a bunch of wonky things like end rounds and tosses and different things.
Screen to a Mecca that was on the 4th down.
Yeah, just a lot of goofy things that they've had to call because they can't line up and run the ball over right tackle and be assured, or left tackle, or whatever position you want, and be assured that they're going to get the first down. They just haven't done it. So, that's a very much, you're playing a lesser opponent like Youngstown. You would think you would be able to line up and run the ball right at them, but they really, haven't been able to do that. So it's very troubling. And, a lot of things just aren't as they have been. And what does that mean for the future? Does that mean a loss is right around the corner? Potentially. I mean, I can't sit here and blow smoke up everyone's behind and say everything is just wonderful. But the good news is they've got time to get things straightened out.
Coach Day said when he was asked about the different style with the calls, different ways that they're running the ball, zone scheme, gap scheme, those type of things. He said he thinks they're capable of doing all of that stuff. They have the athletes on the offensive line and whatnot. When you look at it, what makes the most sense in your mind in a running game for this team?
I think they need to go downhill more. I like that. I don't like the stretch runs. They seem to, I don't know, maybe they think it sets up the passing game a little better. I like it when they just go downhill and they take the fight to you instead of trying to be cute. This is Ohio State, especially against Youngstown State, as Steve was saying and Pat was saying. It's like very disappointing if you can't just line up and run the ball against Youngstown State when they know you're going to run it, because what's going to happen against the good teams on your schedule? So they've got to get this figured out. They're 128th in the country in 3rd down conversions. 128th out of 132 teams.
And look who they played.
16%, right. And I get it's a small sample size.
Played.
Exactly. They played Indiana and Youngstown State, 2 of the worst teams on their schedule. And Indiana's defense might be better than we thought, yada, yada. But the point is they're converting 16% of their 3rd downs. That's anemic. It's anemic. Now, again, we're talking about 2 games. We're talking about a total of 19 possessions. It is a small sample size, but it's still troubling. It's still troubling because, like Steve's saying, look who it's against. They were playing against the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens, or the 2023 Browns defense, apparently. They were playing against Indiana and Youngstown State and couldn't run the ball when they needed to. So, I'm disappointed, but I'm not, setting off alarms yet.
Yeah.
It would be weird if I did. Then we'd have to evacuate the WAC.
Don't do that.
No.
Let's shift to the defensive side of the ball. Ryan Day was asked, Jim Knowles was asked about the edge rushers not getting home. Jim Knowles kind of downplayed it to the offenses that they've played so far. He said he thinks guys like JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer will have more chances to rush the passer this week. Steve, if they aren't getting to the guys this week, I think there's a real problem. But I still think there were opportunities in these first 2 games, especially this last game, to get home a little bit more. To me, they're getting there late or not at all in the case of Jack Sawyer, who I think all 3 of his tackles last week were beyond the line of scrimmage and in a negative way for the defense. What's your concern level with this pass rush right now in terms of where you expected it to be?
I'd be somewhat concerned by it. I think there is some merit to the idea that the first 2 opponents were primarily running the ball and also operating out of a quick pass scheme. I think Western Kentucky is going to do a little bit of everything. There'll be some 3-step drop, some deep drop from what I watched them play. I think it's 2 parts to this. One of it is the negative plays, the sacks. The other part of it is just having consistent pressure and making the quarterback make mistakes. And then that creates turnovers and fumbles and different things on the back end that change the game that you need to get in a game like Notre Dame or Michigan or whatever later on. So to me, I want to see both. I want to see consistent pressure, and I also want to see them finish it off and make some negative plays. I think you got to have that. To me, I watched Western Kentucky's first game against South Florida. They throw the ball over the lot, short throws. I mean, if you had that tree, that diagonal box, he's throwing balls into all 9 windows, okay? So this defense is going to be stressed and stretched like no other team they're going to play probably all season, maybe Notre Dame. With Sam Hartman will make all these throws, but Western Kentucky will attempt all of these throws. Trust me, when you see this game on Saturday, They're going to stretch the field side to side and vertically, and Ohio State's going to have to match them with great pass defense in this game. Prepares them for Notre Dame, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think the good news is the pass defense, while again not tested too much, has played pretty well. Denzel Burke had the first interception of the year, the first interception by a cornerback since October 30th, 2021.
20 games back to Cam Brown.
Cam Brown against Penn State.
2021 season.
Jim Knowles was asked about Davis Igbinosun and kind of his aggression. They've played him off a little bit more a lot of times where he can come up and make a tackle, so he gives up some yards maybe if they make the catch. What have you made of really the secondary in general? You can include kind of how they use these safeties in this past weekend. Just final thoughts here as we wrap this up on as they go into a game where the secondary is going to have to play well, how you feel like they have shown so far.
Yeah, this will be their first test for sure, and it's good that it happens the week before the Notre Dame game, as Steve was saying. I'll start with Denzel Burke. I wanted to see him step up and be that lockdown, that number one corner, and that's exactly what he's been. This is his money year. I feel like he's going to be a first-round pick. He's motivated. I like what he said afterward too. Everybody was like saying how good the defense played. He's like, no, we were supposed to just like mob these guys.
This was a disappointing win.
Yeah,
exactly
and I like that attitude.
Yeah.
I like that attitude. He's playing really well. Davis Igbinosun, I love his game. He's 6'2", a little bit slender, but you wouldn't expect him to be like really physical in the run game, but he is, and I absolutely love that. We know he can cover those long arms, that length, the speed. Freshman All-American last year at Ole Miss, and I love the fact that he's a willing and able tackler. And then I love the fact that Jordan Hancock's playing more in the slot now. I think they have to, especially this week, man. You better not have 3 safeties out there against Western Kentucky and 2 corners. You better have 3 corners and 2 safeties if you're going to play 5 DBs. Sometimes they'll probably have 6 DBs out there, but I like that Jordan Hancock is more of now playing that slot. You're getting your top 3 corners out there. I think Sonny Styles is playing well. Some of the backup safeties are still struggling, like Cam Martinez. Overall, I'm bullish on this secondary, but this will be a good test for them. And of course, facing Sam Hartman next week will be an absolutely great test for them.
Yeah, they did a few snaps with 6 DBs last week. I think they took a defensive lineman off, moved Sonny Styles more centrally, almost like a linebacker in those plays. So we should see some more variations on that, I imagine, this week. Steve, anything else that stood out for you from the press conference?
No, I can't think of a whole lot. We're going to have got videos of Day is already up, and the Knowles video will be up. It's in the comments section of the Day video if you want to check out what he said. And we'll have a story, I'm sure, about what Coach Knowles had to say as well. But I think they haven't started this season, in the winner's circle by any means. I mean, they are a team that is building week after week. And if you want to compare them to Texas or Florida State or Penn State or Alabama or Georgia, Michigan, whoever, it may not stack up that great today, but over time maybe it'll look a little better, and maybe by the end of the season can be discussed in those same terms. I don't know. They have to go out and prove it the next several weeks, though.
Yeah, I mean, they've been dropping in the AP poll, but you haven't had the opportunity yet to play a marquee opponent. You have that in 2 weeks. Does it look great on paper right now? Maybe not. I know people have reacted negatively to some of that, but that game will be different, I think, in terms of just the overall approach, the energy, all that. So that will tell us a lot. This will tell us some in terms of the pass defense, and we'll be there to cover it. Stay tuned the rest of the week. We'll have stuff. We'll have the Bucknuts Happy Hour later in the week. We're going to do podcasts in the morning. All the stuff you've come to expect. So thanks for tuning in. For these guys, Patrick Murphy, we're here at the WAC. We'll talk to you guys soon.
That's a show.